What's up, everybody? Habu Cage, episode 209. I like these little daily 5 minute episodes brought to you by Arena Club and Flickr Trading. They get me to kind of focus in on what it is I'm thinking about today and, what it is I want to tell you and take out some of the fluff. I don't really have enough time to drink my 2 liter bottle of soda because by the time I look up, it's 3 minutes in. My my headline for today's thoughts are this. I have recently heard the same sentence a couple of times from folks that I am either trying to buy a card from or someone I'm talking to about cards that I'm learning, about from them, a different sport or a different segment of a sport that I wasn't previously involved in before. And the same sentence often comes up, and it's, well, I didn't really buy these to make money because I'll be like, I think this will be worth, the X. I think it might double in this many years, and their answer is always the same. Well, they're very honest. Like when I bought it, I really wasn't buying it with an eye towards this kind of return. And it's funny because I think that if you really think about it, those are probably the cards that will have the best return because the people who are buying them because they actually want them. It goes back to the old card ladder, Josh and Chris and Christina saying, like, do we love cards because they're worth money, or are the cards worth money because we love them? And I think, you could argue a little bit of both, but for what I'm talking about here, I think that, chicken or the egg, what comes first is the love for that card. Because when you get that love for the card, if it's rare enough or scarce enough and enough people love the card enough to hang on to it and want to keep it, of course, in order to pry it from one of those fans, collectors, holders' hands, you're going to have to pay more for it. They're not going to be looking to sell you a card they bought for $1,000 and give it to you for the same 1,000 or even 1,100 or maybe even 2,000 or 3,000. It just doesn't change their life. They'd rather have the card than that little bit of money, and that's when you start to see real, appreciation in the value of hobby items, of cards. And it leads me to the thought here today, which is sort of a dichotomy in that. And this is just my DMs, guys. I can only talk about what I see and what, I have as far as conversations myself. You may think of it completely differently. But I made a little comment a couple episodes back about, hey, there's a hobby thought episode coming up of what the heck is a piggy banks? And I got a lot of DMs about them. I got a lot of DMs about piggy banks. And it reminded me of I don't want to call it fever, but it reminded me of the outpouring of DMs that I got when I famously made the statement of nobody's buying soccer cards, that there wasn't a soccer card that I wanted because soccer is not, a real, real hobby, fan base. People love soccer. People love their players. People will collect stickers even. They'll wear their jersey, but no one's coming in and buying soccer cards. There's no history of it. There's no track record. There's nothing to build on. And what's funny about it is I got the same amount of DMs, the same amount of private messages for both of those, my piggy banks take and my soccer take. But the soccer guys came and said, no, I think you're wrong. Here's a soccer card I love. Here's why soccer might actually be a better investment. Here's why soccer might actually be better than baseball or football. Here's my story about Messi. I love Messi. I got a bunch of the same DM, which is, I collect Messi. Have you heard his story? Do you know where he came from? Do you know how he came up? Do you know about Messi? Do you know, I collect him because I followed his career and I'm such a fan of him. And, I've watched the games. I felt like I was there with him. You compare and contrast almost every DM that I got from a piggy banks supporter, which, by the way, if you don't know what it is, you're like me a couple of days ago. I looked it up. You can look it up. They're like art cards. I mean, they don't want to call them cards, but they're like art. They're using IP. I don't know how exactly they're doing it, maybe by not calling them cards, but I mean, they got everything from, Peaky Blinders to Mickey Mouse and everything in between. But I got the same exact, almost word for word, the same response from every piggy banks supporter, which was this: you just don't get piggy banks. I bought mine, and here's a picture of it, for this price. It's now worth this. I paid this. I was able to get one. I was lucky enough to get one for this. I have offers of 5x, 10x. I guess then, from the piggy bank's perspective, it's a successful thing, and the people who have bought them or who were lucky enough to get in on it, they've seen an increase in value. Whoa, the piggy banks people are coming to attack me. I hit the computer. The piggy banks people, they're doing well, and I have nothing to complain about. Hey, if you bought it to buy it and make money on it, great. It seems like a lot of people have. To me, if I'm balancing out the two and I'm trying to figure out which one I'd want to hold long term, the soccer one and the cards that people buy, not because they think if they get it, it's going to be worth more money in a month or 6 months or a year, but they get it because they don't care that it's worth more money. They get it because they want to own it and they want to keep it. I think I'm leaning more towards those in my collection now, because I think the increase in value, while it may not come the next day after you buy it, it's not a pair of Nikes that you were able to get a drop on, and get in the sneakers app and then resell it. You know, it's not going to be worth it more immediately. But I think the ones that have that real organic, real fan base, real support to it are probably the ones that you're better off holding long term. And there's my hobby thought of the day. It might sound pretty stupid to most of you. Like, of course it is. I buy what you love, right? Easier said than done. I think a lot of people in the space are not buying what they love. They're buying what they think is going to be worth more money, or they're buying something they think they can sell to somebody else for more. And if that's your thing, that's fine too. There's a huge segment of that in the space, and a lot of liquidity in the space is generated by that. But my thought of the day is this, and I've come full circle when it comes to soccer, obviously, because I did not think that way about soccer. I thought that soccer cards were like sort of an inorganic thing, and man, I wish that I was buying the soccer cards back then that I said would never mean anything, because some of them are definitely meaningful items. And there's your thoughts of the day, brought to you by Cage and Arena Club and Bleecker Trading. I'll talk to you guys soon. Hope you enjoy these 5 minutes. Let me know. If you don't, let me know, and I'll stop doing them.